being a president, under the kind of term that allows him to be immune to any kind of prosecution. It lasted right up until June 15th. Then the judge wasted no time in getting on with the search of his residence, search of his offices, looking basically for evidence that might back up the claims that Liliane Bettencourt contributed some kind of illicit funding to his 2007 election campaign. And here, as we can see on the front of Le Parisien aujourd'hui, you can see that the judge is basically inviting himself to chez Sarkozy, having a look around to see what can be found. And there's speculation in the papers that they wouldn't have issued this warrant for a search if there weren't something behind it. And just to remind viewers, the whole accusation is based on the idea that France's wealthiest woman contributed funds, illicit funds, that they weren't declared, and they helped him out in the 2007 election campaign. And as a result, they tarnished his reputation throughout the time, giving him that reputation for being the bling-bling president, being too cozy with the rich. And now it's obviously come back to haunt him.
It's an amazing story, isn't it? But amazingly, here in France, there's another big story on the front pages, because a lot of the other papers have gone for something different, haven't they?
That's right. Let's look at Libération, the front page there. The return of the Prime Minister. Here you can see that it's a reference to the idea that the Prime Minister has once again re-entered the political frame in France. Traditionally, that's always been the case, but it's a rupture with Sarkozy style. His previous administration, he very much micromanaged. It was the president suddenly in charge of everything. You know, we remember the first images of him as president running about and making every policy announcement, leaving poor ex-Prime Minister François Fillon making the odd announcement, but not really getting his hands on any of the detail. And now here we have the return of the Prime Minister, a return to the idea that, well, actually it's the Prime Minister that will make the big announcements, especially the detailed budgets like he made yesterday. Ayrault having made the budget announcement to the Assembly, and that's what the papers are pouring over the past couple of days.
Another thing they're pouring over, a lot of analysis of the Prime Minister's speech, or in fact, how he spoke. This is his language, isn't it?
That's right. They're going through the detail and his strenuous efforts to resist the urge to use words like rigor or austerity.
Don't say those words.
Do anything you can to avoid those words. And so as a result, he's been talking about restoring growth, getting France back on its feet, going straight up the road, but there'll be a steep turn ahead. I mean, these are the quotes that he's stressing every sinew in order to kind of avoid the harsh terms. And as a result, of course, the papers are having a ball with it. They're just seeing, that he's basically trying to put a bit of an icing on a rather bitter cake of austerity.
Okay, and it's something that the papers on the right can appreciate then a little bit, isn't it?
Well, yes, let's look at Le Figaro, if we've got it here. Here we've got them cutting to the chase, really. They've got him basically smiling on as he's about to talk about raising taxes as far as they're concerned. So not a lot of, they're not really deceived by this manipulation of the French language, but they do go on to point out that he's willing to negotiate on a number of things. Yes, they'll grant him that. The Figaro will grant him that he's ruptured with the past in terms of his ability to negotiate about a certain budgetary measures like making reductions. But in terms of the taxes, they're not going to budge on that, and that's what Le Figaro has a big problem with.
And the Figaro also has some international news, the hint of something anyway.
Yes, they're calling it African Week for François Hollande because he's got 3 meetings with African leaders from Gabon, from West African countries neighboring Mali. And now this is the backstop. This is the backstory that we've not really been talking a lot about in terms of how France is going to try to deal with this, because apparently what's happening is a lot of French-speaking African countries are calling for some kind of intervention in Mali, that is to say, to deal with the coup d'etat and what's resulted from it. Of course, we've been reporting on the damage done to the traditional shrines, World Heritage sites, and so this flurry of activity on the diplomatic front with François Hollande over the next several days has raised eyebrows. It's begging the question as to what's being asked, what's being promised, and they're speculating in the Figaro that there is talk of some kind of intervention, military or otherwise. And of course, this is something that Hollande has not made any public announcements about, but it's something that perhaps is being discussed.
Carl, thanks very much. Carl Brown there with the French newspapers on France 24. Coming up next, Focus. We've got a special report for you today following French troops as they begin their pull-out from Afghanistan. That's 2,000 troops, 900 vehicles. It's not an easy task. We report on it next.